Hey class, this is Dr. Willis. This point of this presentation is simply to teach you how to master the discussion board by understanding some important criteria because each week, besides week 7, you're going to have a discussion board post, and it is very important that you understand what we have here. So let's talk about the purpose of this presentation. We're going to talk about what is the discussion board, how to break down each discussion board question or prompt. We're going to talk about the initial post versus your response post. We're going to look at the grading rubric criteria, which is comprehension, timeliness, engagement, and writing. And I'll discuss those in details here shortly. But first, so what is the discussion board? It's really the backbone of online learning. It's the place where we connect with instructors and peers. And you're going to hear me say this more than once. The value of the online setting is that we get to communicate with so many people across the United States. And the discussion board is a really important tool that allows us to do this. So this is really the backbone of what we do within this class. So let's break down how you respond to different discussion board questions or prompts. The first thing you want to do, you want to analyze the entire question. You want to read it thoroughly. It's normally going to be a 2 or 3-part question that you're responding to. So you want to make sure you're thorough. So please, as the slide says, be thorough. If you have to, write the questions down. It's always easier to write them down so you can go back to them as you're responding. Things not to do: do not skim through the questions just vaguely. We need you to really be detailed as you read the questions and the prompts, and do not paraphrase somebody else's post. Always go with your original thoughts. Sometimes it's okay to kind of get an idea of what people are writing, but you always want to go with your original thoughts. Okay, so your initial post. There's 2 different posts, the initial post and the response post. But the initial post, it must be 1 to 2 paragraphs in length. Now, a paragraph is not 2 to 3 sentences. It is 7 to 8 thorough sentences. And you may be thinking that that's pretty lengthy, and it is, because when we look at the discussion board post as a short paper. This is not just a simple paragraph that you're posting each week. This is a thorough mini paper that you're posting each week that must be 7 to 8 sentences long, and I'll tell you why. The first thing, it allows you to actually answer all of the prompts, because like I said before, they're going to be 2 to 3-part questions. So there's no way you can answer that in 2 to 3 sentences. So it gives you a little room to be detailed. It shows your ability to really think and express those thoughts on paper. So we're going to give you an opportunity to really get your thought processes flowing and really give you an opportunity to put those things on paper. All right. So next is the response post, because of course, and I'm going to mention this later, you have to respond to at least 2 peers. But this is also must be 1 to 2 paragraphs in length. And please, I'm always going to go with the do's. Mention your peers by name when you respond. Please read their post entirely. Don't just read a few points and then respond based on 1 point. Be relevant. Make sure your responses are specific to their post, and make sure your tone is encouraging. We never want to be negative in the discussion board. We always want to be upbeat, positive, commend your classmate on what they did well. Never correct or rebuke in the discussion, in your response or your feedback. All right, now let's look at some of the grading criteria, because how we grade, we use a rubric. It's very simple. It breaks down 4 different topics. It's comprehension, timeliness, engagement, and writing. And now I'm going to go into detail for each one. All right, so for comprehension, it's worth 40%. So this is up to 16 points for this particular area. Okay, so we're going to measure your overall understanding of the discussion board prompts. Did you answer all the prompts? Because remember I said sometimes it's a 2 to 3 part question. So we're looking to see if you actually answered every part of the question. And we're going to look at some of your organization, your sentences, your paragraphs, if you were really rich in detail. Because as you progress as a writer, you kind of stop skimming the surface and you really get detailed by providing evidence and examples based on the question. So we want to see if you're really past that elementary level of writing as well in this part. Also, timeliness. It's always good to be on time. This is worth 10% or 4% of that grade. Your initial post is going to normally be due every Thursday at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. And what this does, whenever we want you to get your initial post in on time, because it gives your peers time to give you sound feedback, and you can bounce ideas off each other. So we're going to give each other time to respond. Your response post, the same one we just talked about, your response post is normally due Sunday at 11:59. So when the week starts, you normally have until Thursday to complete your initial post, and you normally have until Sunday to actually go back in and respond to at least 2 peers. And this is a great segue into engagement, which is worth 30% or up to 12 points, because this is the response category or the engagement category. Here you're going to respond to at least 2 peers, at least 2 at minimum. And of course, it's going to be 1 to 2 paragraphs in length, which is 7 to 8 sentences. Of course, this gives you time and enough length to be detailed and specific to their posts. So you always want to be encouraging, relevant, and detailed. As I said before, always mention your peer by name. So for example, if we have a student named Susie and I'm responding to Susie's post, I'm not just going to start by saying, "You did a great job, yada yada yada." I'm going to say, "Hi Susie, comma, I thought you did an excellent job with whatever it is that we're talking about." So we want to mention them by name, be encouraging, relevant, and detailed. Now the final category is one that normally gives people the most trouble, and it's the writing. It's worth 20% or up to 8 points of your grade. We're simply going to assess writing mechanics here, sentence structure, flow of ideas, wording, grammar, spelling, and punctuation. So everything within the confounds of writing, how you flow with your paragraphs, your ideas, the words you use, the phrases. Do you have any grammar or spelling or punctuation errors? So we're going to look at all of that here. So all these 4 topics, comprehension, timeliness, engagement, and writing, that's about 40 points. So each discussion board is worth 40 points, and you really have an opportunity each week to maximize your points by simply following everything that I spoke about within this presentation, and really thinking about each week as a small paper and not just a passive writing assignment. Okay, so some suggestions here for your writing. Write your post in Microsoft Word. Okay, this allows you to kind of catch some of those errors early. So any of those grammar errors, those spelling errors, the Microsoft Word will pick them up for you. Read it aloud. Once you finish, it's easy to really catch mistakes when you actually read your post aloud. Get a proofreader. If any students in here are married, get your wife or your husband to proofread it. Girlfriend, boyfriend, mom, dad, sister, brother. Get somebody to proofread your paper. The Writing Center, which I'm going to talk about later in the course, is a great resource that we have here at Southern New Hampshire University. The Writing Center is perfect for proofreading. And there's also a website called Grammarly, which I'm going to discuss later in the class as well. Grammarly is also a proofreading system that kind of catches errors and gives you suggestions to improve your writing. Okay. Now, In conclusion, this was a pretty lengthy presentation, but it's really necessary to gain an understanding of what we really expect in the discussion board. So remember, we're going to have one of these almost every week. So it's vital that you learn to maximize your points here. The only week we don't have one, I want to say, is week 7. So every other week, we will have a discussion board besides week 7. So you have plenty of opportunities to maximize your points here. Pay attention to detail. You'll hear me say this a lot. Attention to detail, attention to detail. That is really the difference between really good students and poor students. They don't pay close enough attention to the detail. Okay? And ask questions early. If you have any issues, my email, I'm always by my cell phone. I respond to emails fairly quickly. We're also going to use this tool called Remind, and I'll be sending out a text to you all's phone fairly soon. That's just another way that I communicate. So if you have any questions, concerns, please email me. It is very important that we follow the instructions that were left in this presentation because they'll truly guide you to a max amount of points in the discussion boards. Okay? Well, you all have a wonderful night, and I will speak with you all very soon. Bye-bye.